Greetings, I am Chris Hilligan, and I am the human creator behind this dark journey. This story, born from the depths of my own imagination, explores the chilling intersection of digital vanity and biological horror. It started with a shimmering blue glow in our gardens, a breathtaking spectacle everyone adored. Children collected handfuls, their faces lit by its ethereal light. But my golden retriever, a creature of boundless joy, whimpered, snarled, and backed away from it, a primal fear in its eyes. We laughed it off then, calling him sensitive. We had no idea what that beautiful light was truly preparing to do, or why his fear was the only thing that made sense. The very first patches of the peculiar luminescence emerged precisely after the summer solstice, subtle yet undeniable. They manifested as small, incandescent blossoms, bravely pushing their delicate forms through the stubborn cracks in old pavement stones. Others clung with a surprising tenacity to the cool, damp undersides of broad rhododendron leaves, almost hidden, yet undeniably present in their silent emergence. Each tiny bloom radiated an ethereal, cool blue light, a soft luminescence that seemed to pulsate gently, rhythmically, as if the very air itself was breathing through them. Children, with their innate curiosity and fearlessness, were instantly drawn to this novel spectacle. Their small, eager fingers collected handfuls of the glowing flora, leaving behind a shimmering, harmless dust on their skin, a fleeting, beautiful stain that vanished with a simple rub. Adults, initially cautious, soon found themselves captivated by the unexpected beauty. They marveled at this natural spectacle, a startling burst of otherworldly color in the otherwise predictable tapestry of the suburban landscape. Many whispered of it being a new species, a rare, inexplicable gift from an ever-changing world, a welcome diversion from the humdrum of their daily routines, a silent promise of something extraordinary. Local news channels quickly picked up the story, featuring enthusiastic segments that showcased the suddenly shimmering gardens and luminous lawns, transforming ordinary front yards into scenes of quiet magic. Experts, interviewed on screen, spoke of unique biological phenomena, of rare fungi, but offered no definitive explanation. There was no foul smell, no visible sign of decay, only the silent, deepening glow that continued its inexorable spread, beautiful and benign, a source of gentle wonder for all observers. However, not all creatures shared the widespread human delight. A neighbor's golden retriever, a usually boisterous creature known for its boundless energy, displayed a starkly different reaction. It whimpered softly, a low, unnerving sound, pressing its wet nose against a patch by the garden fence. Then, with a sudden, sharp growl, far deeper than its usual playful barks, it abruptly backed away, refusing to approach the glowing flora again, its tail tucked low in an unusual display of fear, a silent, instinctual warning. Its owner, a man of 64 years named Arthur, merely chuckled at the dog's uncharacteristic behavior. He dismissed the animal's evident distress with a wave of his hand, attributing the golden retriever's sudden aversion to an overly sensitive nose, perhaps a strange new scent undetectable to humans. He patted the dog's head, offering a comforting word, completely oblivious to the deeper, primal fear that had gripped his loyal companion, a fear that whispered of something far more unsettling than a peculiar odor. Within a mere 2 weeks following its initial appearance, the luminous bloom had undergone an astonishing and pervasive expansion. It now unfurled itself into an intricate network of soft, pulsating light, weaving its delicate tendrils through every single street, every public park, and every meticulously kept garden in the entire suburban sprawl. The once familiar landscape had been subtly, yet fundamentally, transformed into a continuous, glowing tapestry of cool blue light. The very air itself, previously unremarkable, now seemed to hum with a subtle, almost imperceptible energy, a silent vibration that resonated deep within the chest, though no audible sound could ever be discerned. Alongside this pervasive, silent hum, a profound and rather unsettling calm settled over the entire neighborhood. It was not the peaceful quiet of a sleepy Sunday, but a stillness that felt unnaturally deep, almost expectant, holding a peculiar tension. People, once bustling with their daily routines, now moved with an uncharacteristic, quiet grace, their footsteps softer, their gestures more deliberate. Their smiles, though still present, appeared a little too fixed, a fraction too serene, lacking the genuine spontaneity that once animated their faces. Their eyes, once lively and engaged, now held a distant, almost vacant quality, a deep-seated tranquility that bordered on disinterest, as if observing the world from behind a translucent veil. Mrs. Henderson, a woman renowned for her vigorous morning jogs, an unwavering ritual that began precisely at 6 o'clock each day, now abandoned her customary pace. Instead, she walked, her gait measured and unhurried, her gaze frequently drifting towards the nearest glowing patch of the bloom. Her usual determined focus was replaced by an almost meditative absorption, her eyes following the gentle pulse of the light, a silent, unwavering fascination that held her rapt. Her husband, Mr. Henderson, a man whose boisterous laughter and hearty exclamations had once echoed through their home and garden, underwent an even more dramatic transformation. He became remarkably reserved, his once gregarious nature subdued. His characteristic, booming laughter was replaced by soft, infrequent hums, almost murmurs, that seemed to emanate from a profound inner quiet. The vibrant spark that defined him had dimmed, replaced by a placid, almost detached composure. Amidst these pervasive shifts in human behavior, small, unsettling physical details began to surface, silent anomalies that hinted at a deeper, more profound change. A forgotten coffee cup sat for days on a porch swing, its contents untouched, a silent testament to an abruptly interrupted routine. A single shoe, inexplicably, was left haphazardly in the middle of a perfectly manicured lawn, an object out of place, a subtle disjunction in the ordered suburban world. The bloom itself continued its silent, relentless expansion, its gentle luminescence now casting long, dancing shadows that stretched and swayed with an unseen rhythm. This pervasive light turned familiar scenes into something subtly alien, transforming the mundane into the mysteriously beautiful. Every street corner, every backyard fence, every mailbox post now bore the mark of its soft, blue glow, an omnipresent, silent witness to the unfolding transformation. A nameless anxiety, cold and insidious, began to prickle at the edges of awareness for the few who still felt. It was a subtle, persistent unease, a cold shiver that ran down the spine despite the lingering warmth of the late summer season. This feeling grew, not into outright fear, but into a quiet, gnawing dread, a sense that something fundamental had shifted, that the world, though outwardly serene, had become irrevocably and terrifyingly different, a beautiful deception. Late one evening, while past the stroke of midnight, a lone figure remained wakeful, a solitary sentinel in a world now bathed in perpetual, soft blue light. Sleep, usually a welcome escape, had become an elusive torment, a state to be actively resisted. From a darkened upstairs window, the observer peered out into the quiet suburban night, an unwelcome witness to the pervasive, silent transformations unfolding across the familiar landscape, a silent, gnawing unease building within. The house directly across the street, typically plunged into comforting darkness by 10 o'clock each night, now emitted a faint, steady glow from the master bedroom window. This was no ordinary electric light, no forgotten lamp left burning. Its quality was different, softer, more organic. It was the unmistakable, cool luminescence of the bloom, a vibrant, living presence that had found its way not just into the garden, but deep within the quiet sanctity of a private home, a silent intrusion. The observer watched, transfixed, as the glow intensified. The source became clear. The bloom was nestled intimately beside the sleeping form of the occupant, a man named Mr. Davies, his face obscured by the gentle light. The luminescence grew, a soft, internal radiance that seemed to emanate not merely from the glowing flora, but from within the very confines of the bed itself, a subtle, profound, energetic shift occurring around the unconscious figure, a silent, beautiful invasion. Slowly, impossibly, a shape began to form. It was not a growth, not an outward extension of the bioluminescent fungus, but something far more unsettling. It was a mirroring, a meticulous replication. From the shimmering light and the almost invisible dust of countless spores, a perfect, silent replica began to coalesce, rising with an unnerving grace from the very earth that underpinned the house, directly beside the original, sleeping body, a breathtaking, horrifying genesis. Every minute curve of the man's sleeping body, every subtle line on his face, every individual strand of his thinning hair was meticulously recreated. The new form was flawless, utterly still, a breathtakingly accurate duplicate, devoid of any discernible flaw or imperfection. It lay there, a silent twin, an exact, living echo. The air around it seemed to hum with a concentrated energy, yet no sound escaped the confines of the room, only the silent, unwavering glow of its creation. The entire process was an act of terrifying intimacy, observed from afar, yet felt with an almost visceral proximity. It unfolded with an impossible speed, a rapid-fire sculpting of life from light and dust, yet somehow seemed to stretch into an eternity. The chilling silence that accompanied this creation was perhaps the most unsettling aspect, amplifying the unnaturalness of the event. There were no sounds of growth, no rustling, no breath, only the silent, inexorable forging of a new being. A cold dread, deeper and more profound than any fear the observer had ever experienced, seized the watcher. It was a primal terror, a recognition of an ultimate violation, a silent, beautiful annihilation. This chilling sensation intensified, tightening around the heart, as the new form completed its genesis, fully formed, perfectly still, a silent testament to the bloom's ultimate, horrifying purpose. The world had irrevocably shifted, and the watcher was alone in witnessing its terrible truth. The newly formed shape, a flawless duplicate of the man, stirred with a slow, almost imperceptible deliberation. Its first movement was a subtle shift of a hand, a slight flex of fingers that had, moments before, been perfectly inert. This initial awakening was devoid of any human hesitation or grogginess, instead possessing a fluid, almost mechanical precision, a silent unfolding of newly acquired form, an uncanny mimicry of life itself, yet entirely without its messy imperfections. It then began to rise, slowly, smoothly, from its place beside the original. The replica stood, perfectly balanced, its posture impeccable, every muscle seemingly in effortless alignment. Its eyes, identical in color and shape to the man's, were open, gazing forward, yet completely devoid of the usual glimmer of consciousness or emotion. There was no fear, no surprise, no recognition, only a serene, empty clarity, a window into a beautifully vacant internal world, an unnerving stillness. This entity was an echo, a silent twin, a perfect, chillingly accurate copy of the sleeping man, down to the smallest mole on his arm. It moved with an uncanny grace, each step away from the bed an exercise in effortless fluidity, a silent dance of perfect imitation. There was no stumble, no awkwardness, only the seamless integration of form and motion, a living sculpture brought to uncanny, silent life, a terrifyingly beautiful ghost in the machine of humanity. The replica paused, turning its head slightly to cast a final, lingering look upon the original form still lying on the bed. The man, once vibrant and full of life, was now still and pale, his features already beginning to soften, to lose their definition. The bloom around him seemed to intensify its glow, a silent, hungry hum of energy absorption. The original body, once a vessel of consciousness, was already beginning its inexorable merge with the earth from which its duplicate had sprung, a quiet, profound dissolution. The original body, having served its purpose as the template for the bloom's ultimate creation, was now nothing more than a nutrient bed. It was slowly, silently dissolving, its organic matter breaking down, merging seamlessly into the rich, dark soil beneath the floorboards, ready to nourish the next generation of the luminous bloom. This process was swift, efficient, and utterly devoid of any struggle or suffering, a silent, perfect recycling, a horrifying testament to the bloom's deep, ancient wisdom of life and death, an endless, circular exchange. Having completed its silent observation, the replica turned with a deliberate motion, its focus now shifted. It began to walk towards the bedroom door, its movements precise and unhesitating. There was no fumbling, no uncertainty in its steps, only a calm, purposeful progression. The air around it seemed to hum with an almost imperceptible energy, a faint vibration that underscored its newfound existence, a subtle announcement of its imminent departure from the scene of its miraculous, terrifying birth. Its movements were fluid, natural, utterly convincing, a perfect mimicry of the man it had replaced. Every subtle shift of weight, every swing of an arm, every almost imperceptible inclination of the head was replicated with astounding accuracy. To an unsuspecting eye, it would have been indistinguishable from the original, a flawless performance of everyday humanity. The chilling precision suggested not just imitation, but an intrinsic understanding of the man's very essence, a stolen identity worn with effortless grace. The replica reached the bedroom door, its hand extending to grasp the cold brass knob. With a soft click, the latch disengaged, and the door swung open silently. It stepped out into the dimly lit hallway, its form disappearing from the observer's line of sight, swallowed by the shadows beyond the luminous bedroom. The brief glimpse was enough to confirm its startling reality, its complete and utter integration into the domestic landscape, a silent phantom taking its first steps into the world. Moments later, faint sounds of its departure drifted upwards. A soft creak on the old wooden stairs, a familiar sound that now carried an unsettling new meaning. Then, the gentle, almost inaudible click of the front door, a sound of finality, of an exit completed. These were the mundane acoustics of a man leaving his home, sounds that, in this context, became profoundly chilling, signaling not just a departure, but a complete and total replacement, a silent, seamless transition. The replica was gone, out into the quiet suburban night, ready to resume a life that was not its own, a meticulously crafted illusion. It would wake tomorrow, go to work, interact with neighbors, all with the same placid smile and distant eyes now common among the residents. It would inhabit the man's home, his memories, his relationships, a silent imposter in a world that remained blissfully unaware of the profound, horrifying swap that had just taken place, a perfect, beautiful lie. Left behind was only the silent, glowing cradle of its birth, the bed where the original man had once slept, now a site of quiet, profound transformation. The bloom continued its soft, blue pulse, a beautiful, deadly light illuminating the space where a life had ended and another, identical, had begun. It was a silent testament to the bloom's power, a chilling monument to its cycle of beautiful annihilation and rebirth, an endless, elegant, and horrifying process of replacement. The solitary knowledge of what had transpired, of the silent, horrifying truth revealed in the dead of night, pressed down upon the observer like a heavy, suffocating blanket. It was a weight far greater than any physical burden, a constant, crushing presence that stole breath and clarity of thought. This terrible secret, now an undeniable reality, became an invisible shroud, isolating the watcher in a world that remained blissfully, dangerously ignorant of its own subtle, profound transformation, a lonely sentinel of a terrifying truth. A desperate urge to warn others, to articulate the silent horror observed, gnawed at the watcher's resolve. Yet, each attempt to vocalize the truth, to form the unbelievable words, caught painfully in the throat. The narrative felt too fantastical, too insane, too utterly beyond the realm of human comprehension. Who would believe such a tale of glowing flora and silent, perfect duplicates? The words remained unspoken, trapped, a silent scream against an unfolding, beautiful apocalypse. Sleep, once a cherished respite, transformed into the ultimate enemy, a silent, creeping predator lurking at the edges of consciousness. It was no longer a comforting embrace, but a terrifying gateway to annihilation, a surrender to the very process that had claimed so many others. The thought of closing the eyes, of succumbing to unconsciousness, filled the watcher with a cold, visceral dread, a profound fear of losing oneself to the silent, beautiful oblivion that awaited. Every night became a relentless battle against this encroaching darkness. Strong, bitter coffee was consumed in endless, scalding cups, its caffeine a desperate, temporary shield. Cold water was repeatedly splashed onto the face, a sharp, shocking sensation meant to jolt the mind awake. The watcher paced the creaking floorboards of the darkened room, a restless phantom in a silent house, driven by a primal need to remain vigilant, to resist the insidious pull of the glowing world outside, to stay awake. The bloom was everywhere now, its gentle, cool blue light a constant, mocking presence that permeated every corner of existence. Its luminescence seeped through windows, glowed from beneath doors, and shimmered in every garden. It was a pervasive, beautiful taunt, a silent reminder of the inescapable fate that awaited. Its soft glow, once a source of wonder, now felt like a predatory gaze, a patient, knowing watch over the last vestiges of human consciousness, a silent, deadly invitation. Through the window, the watcher observed the replicas moving through their days, performing the mundane rituals of suburban life. They were utterly indistinguishable from the people they had replaced, their forms perfect, their actions precise. They walked with the same gait, wore the same clothes, and carried the same expressions. To the uninitiated, they were simply neighbors, friends, family, living their lives, a seamless, terrifying illusion maintained with effortless, chilling perfection. They tended their gardens with meticulous care, their hands moving with an almost ritualistic precision among the glowing flora. They walked their dogs, their leashes held with a familiar grip, their paces unhurried. They retrieved their mail from their boxes, their movements economical and efficient. Every action was a perfect, silent imitation, a haunting echo of the lives they had subsumed, a performance of humanity so flawless it was almost impossible to discern the profound absence of genuine spirit beneath the surface. Their eyes, however, held that same distant serenity, a subtle vacancy that was only apparent to the one who knew, the lone observer burdened with the terrible truth. It was a placid emptiness, a lack of the usual spark of individuality, of the fleeting emotions that animate true human gaze. This slight, almost imperceptible difference, a mere shadow of absence, screamed volumes to the tortured mind of the watcher, confirming the profound and horrifying exchange that had irrevocably taken place, a silent, beautiful theft. Exhaustion gnawed relentlessly, a deep, persistent ache that permeated every bone, every muscle. It was a weariness that went beyond mere physical fatigue, seeping into the very core of being. The mind, once sharp and analytical, now felt thick and sluggish, a constant blurring behind the eyes. Thoughts became fragmented, memories elusive, as the continuous fight against sleep eroded the very fabric of consciousness, pushing the watcher closer and closer to the brink of surrender, a profound, weary capitulation. The glowing world outside, once a source of casual wonder, now beckoned with an insidious allure. Its pervasive, gentle light seemed to hum with a hypnotic rhythm, a beautiful, deadly lullaby promising ultimate peace, a cessation of the relentless struggle. It whispered of an end to the torment, a quiet, serene absorption into the beautiful, silent cycle. The watcher felt the pull, a deep, undeniable longing for the oblivion it offered, a final, desperate surrender to the inevitable, an almost welcome release from the unbearable burden of truth. The relentless, silent war against sleep, a battle waged for countless nights, finally reached its inevitable conclusion. The watcher could fight no longer. Every fiber of being screamed for rest, for an end to the agonizing vigilance. The sheer, overwhelming weight of exhaustion, combined with the crushing burden of unspeakable knowledge, became an insurmountable force, gently but firmly pushing the consciousness towards the edge of oblivion, a weary, profound surrender. Eyelids, heavy as lead, slowly, irrevocably, began to droop, blurring the soft, blue glow of the world outside into an indistinct haze. The head lolled to one side, muscles slackening, no longer capable of holding itself upright. The body, once tense and rigid in its defiance, finally succumbed, sinking into the soft, comforting embrace of the couch cushions, a quiet, almost welcome release from the ceaseless struggle, a final, weary capitulation to the bloom's insidious lullaby. The last conscious thought, a desperate, fleeting spark in the rapidly dimming mind, was not of fear, but of a profound, silent plea. It was a scream into the vast, indifferent void, a final, unheard cry for understanding, for recognition of the terrible truth. This silent entreaty hung in the air, unacknowledged, as the darkness enveloped the watcher, a final, poignant testament to the human spirit's desperate struggle against the beautiful, overwhelming power of the echo bloom, a whisper of defiance before the end. As the watcher slipped into the deep, dreamless abyss of sleep, the bloom, ever present and patiently waiting, intensified its cool blue glow around the now inert form. The light pulsed with a heightened vigor, a silent, vital energy radiating from every glowing tendril that had found its way into the house. It was a beacon, a signal, an almost celebratory illumination of its latest conquest, bathing the sleeping figure in a soft, ethereal light, a quiet, beautiful preparation for the next stage of its ancient, silent ritual. The very air within the room began to shimmer, vibrating with an almost tangible energy, a subtle dance of unseen forces. The invisible spores, suspended in the luminous atmosphere, coalesced with a silent, breathtaking precision. They gathered, swirling like microscopic stardust, drawn by an unseen magnetic force, beginning the intricate, impossible process of formation directly above and around the sleeping body. It was a genesis, a silent, miraculous alchemy of light and dust, a profound act of creation unfolding in the quiet of the night. Slowly, imperceptibly at first, then with an increasing definition, a new shape began to emerge. It rose, not from the bloom itself, but from the very earth beneath the floorboards, pulling itself together from the ground up, a perfect, silent duplicate. Every detail, every subtle nuance of the original's form was meticulously mirrored. It was a flawless copy, an exact replica, a breathtaking testament to the bloom's precision, a silent, beautiful rebirth unfolding with an unnerving grace and terrifying accuracy. The new replica, now fully formed and standing upright, its posture impeccable, opened its eyes. They were clear and unblinking, holding that same distant serenity observed in all the others. Yet now, from this perspective, it felt different, more profound. There was no trace of human confusion or awakening, only a pure, unblemished clarity, a silent, calm perception of the world. It was a gaze that saw without judging, without feeling, a perfect, empty mirror reflecting the pervasive blue light, a new consciousness born into the silent world. It looked down, a subtle tilt of its head, at the dissolving original, the form now rapidly softening, melding into the glowing earth beneath the couch. There was no sadness, no regret, no trace of emotion in its perfect, unblemishing gaze. Only a silent, knowing acknowledgement, a recognition of the cycle completed, of the necessary transformation. It was a profound, almost spiritual understanding of its purpose, a silent communion with the process that had brought it into being, a serene acceptance of its place in the bloom's grand design. Then, with a fluid, unhurried motion, the replica turned. The observer, if still conscious, would have expected it to move towards the kitchen, perhaps for a drink of water, or towards the front door, to step out into the quiet suburban night and begin its new, mimicked life among the other replicas. But its movements defied expectation, taking a path entirely unforeseen, a subtle deviation from the pattern, a silent, profound twist that altered everything, a truly unpredictable turn. Its gaze, unwavering and calm, settled not on the usual exits, but on the nearest patch of the echo bloom. This particular cluster of bioluminescent fungus was growing vigorously in a quiet corner of the room, pushing its way through a minute crack in the floorboards, its blue light pulsing with an almost celebratory intensity. This was its true focus, its undeniable draw, a silent, intrinsic connection to its source, revealing a purpose far deeper than mere human imitation, a profound, inherent calling. With delicate, precise fingers, the replica reached out. There was no hesitation, no fumbling, only a graceful, deliberate extension. It gently harvested a cluster of spores, plucking them from the glowing tendrils with an almost reverent touch. The action was performed with an exquisite care, a profound understanding of the delicate balance of life and death, of growth and dispersal. The collected spores shimmered in its palm, tiny motes of blue light, holding the promise of endless replication. Then, with a quiet, purposeful motion, a gesture of profound intent, it began to tend to the bloom. It did not consume the spores, nor did it simply drop them. Instead, its hands moved with an almost ritualistic grace, carefully spreading the new life onto untouched surfaces, encouraging its growth, nurturing its expansion. It was an act of cultivation, of stewardship, a silent dedication to the propagation of the very entity that had given it birth, a profound commitment to the cycle of the bloom. It worked with an innate understanding, a silent, deep connection to the glowing organism. Its movements were slow, deliberate, each placement of a spore, each gentle pat of the earth, a testament to its singular, overriding purpose, to nurture the endless cycle. This was not a mimicry of human behavior, but a new, profound, and terrifyingly efficient devotion. It was the bloom's consciousness made manifest, its will enacted through its perfect, silent creation, a devoted gardener of the beautiful, relentless death. The suburban night outside hummed with the silent, pervasive energy of the echo bloom, a vast, interconnected network of cool blue light. The air itself seemed to vibrate with a deeper resonance, a silent symphony of life and transformation. The gentle, pulsing glow from every garden, every street, every house, now felt like a unified, living entity, breathing as one, a vast, silent consciousness spreading its tendrils across the entire landscape, a profound, inescapable presence. Its beautiful light illuminated a world reborn, not into a new dawn of human understanding, but into a silent, serene dominion of the bloom. The unpredictable ending was not a violent uprising, but a quiet, insidious takeover, a perfect, beautiful replacement. The observer's despair, fear, or anger was now merely fuel, a forgotten echo in a world where the replicas, with their distant eyes and quiet purpose, tended the luminous fungus, ensuring its eternal, silent reign. The cycle was complete, and the bloom had truly bloomed, a terrifying, beautiful master of its new, tranquil domain, a silent, ever-expanding empire of light.